Medieval warfare had no shortage of brutal weapons. But some of the most terrifying were siege engines, built for one purpose: breaking castles. These tools of destruction, designed to batter walls, breach gates, and force even the strongest fortresses to surrender, ranged from simple tactics to devastating machines of war. We've spent hundreds of hours researching, modeling, and reconstructing them to show exactly how they looked and operated in the medieval world. For centuries, castles dominated the landscape. They controlled territory, protected rulers, stored wealth, and projected authority. From the 11th century onward, castles spread across Europe, evolving from simple timber fortifications into massive stone strongholds. Thick curtain walls, fortified gatehouses, and flanking towers transformed them into some of the most formidable defensive structures of the medieval world. As these fortifications grew more advanced, capturing them demanded equally specialized methods. A siege is the process of surrounding and isolating a fortified position, either to force its surrender or to breach its defenses. Over time, sieges became central to medieval warfare, shaping the control of land and resources, but they came at a high cost, requiring immense time, money, and manpower. We specifically focused on how sieges were carried out in medieval Europe toward the end of the High Middle Ages and into the Late Middle Ages, roughly the 13th and 14th centuries. The castle shown here is a simplified representative model inspired by real European castles of the period, incorporating a water-filled moat and key defensive features typical of the era. Castles were often built on elevated terrain, hills, cliffs, or mountains, making them even harder to attack. For this demonstration, however, the surrounding terrain has been kept flat, allowing us to clearly show how these brutal siege devices were used during an assault. But a siege didn't typically begin with an attack. It actually began with something seemingly unmedieval. When an army first arrived, negotiations often came first, an opportunity to avoid the cost of a prolonged conflict. If no agreement was reached, the attackers would establish a camp and secure their position around the castle, cutting off supplies and reinforcements. This camp became their fortified base for the duration of the siege. A defensive perimeter of wooden palisades was typically erected around it. Inside, soldiers slept, stored supplies, and built siege engines. Setting up camp marked the true beginning of the siege, not with violence, but with pressure. In many cases, the attackers simply waited. Rather than risk a costly assault, they relied on time to do the work for them. Sieges could last for months, even years, as food ran out, water became scarce,